Speaker Boehner warning the White House to get serious to avert the fiscal cliff. But Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid seems to be thrown in the towel, saying it will be difficult to reach a deal by Christmas. Crazy. With more on this, Republican Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming. Senator, thank you for being with us. Okay, so John Boehner sends a counteroffer to the White House. Do you have any idea what's in it?
I don't have the final details on that, Tracy. We need to avert the fiscal cliff. My concern is that it drives us into another recession, knocks unemployment way up. And I agree with you. We need to make sure more people have more of their own money in their own pockets to decide what to save, what to spend, what to invest. And anything that hurts our fragile economy, I think is bad for all Americans, especially those like you talk about who are trying to put food on the table and get their kids off to school.
So then is there anything that you would come to the table on? Are there concessions that you would give into in order to get this done so we avert the cliff?
Well, you know, John Boehner has already talked about increasing revenue. I think we need to do that through jobs and growth and getting more people back to work. Unemployment numbers continue to be very high. That's the way to increase revenue. But our big problem as a nation is the spending. We continue to spend too much, and we have to make the adjustments now to make sure that we save and protect Medicare and Social Security for future generations.
And there's no talk of that. You know, we could raise taxes 6 ways till Tuesday. It's still not going to cover our debt or our spending habits at the end of the day. And it's so unfortunate because so many American households have trimmed down, have curbed their spending in light of what's happened over the last couple years, and yet the government has not. When is that going to start to be part of the discussion?
Well, you're right, Tracy, and I think that the president is misleading the American people when he says all we need to do is raise taxes on a certain group. That would bring in the amount of revenue to fund the government in a year for only 7 days.
Right.
So what about the other 51 weeks of the year? I mean, that's the real question. The president refuses to talk about that, and he basically implies through his speeches that if we just raise taxes on 1 or 2% of the country, that will solve all of the problems, when in fact that's not true.
Is part of the problem the process? You know, your fellow Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin saying it's kind of absurd that at the end of the day it comes down to two people, the president, John Boehner, and their respective staffs, and somehow or another they're going to make us a deal. Is that even fair at the end of the day?
Well, there's only one person in the United States that has the pen that can sign the law, and that's the president. And there is one person that can bring the bill to the House that has to pass that House of Representatives, and that's John Boehner. But, you know, Speaker Boehner has a lot of input from all of the members of the House, some from his party, some from the other party. He's getting plenty of input, but ultimately something has to pass the House, be signed by the president, and I think whatever that agreement is will pass the Senate, Tracy.
You know what? We've been hearing so much about federal tax rate increases. Not a lot of talk about what's going to happen with the estate tax if we go over the cliff. I know this is a very sensitive issue to you at home in Wyoming. You got a lot of farmers. Where are we on the estate tax?
If nothing is done come January 1st, the estate tax rate, the death tax rate, goes up from 35% to 55%. And, you know, right now it's on estates over $5 million. It drops down to anything over $1 million. So for farmers, ranchers, as well as small business owners all around the country, whether it's the dry cleaner or whether it's the flower shop or the car wash, all of those people that have had businesses in their family, they'll more likely have to sell because they're not going to be able to pass them on because they have to pay the taxes almost immediately.
But has there been any discussion of this in all this talk? Have you heard anything? Anybody conceding or talking about bringing rates down?
Well, I continue to talk about it, put out a Republican policy committee paper today going through all of that.
Right.
But the Democrats don't seem to want to talk about that because they view that as additional money that they would have that they could spend. And the American taxpayers know you send more money to Washington, for the most part, Washington wastes it.
No joke. Senator Barrasso, thank you for taking the time to be with us, sir.
Thank you, Tracy.
Ain't that the truth?